Hey there, my AM querying friends. On today's episode, we're going to discuss all the tips you need to write a strong query letter. Listen in. Welcome to the Journey to KidLit podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Van Sickle, and each week on the show, we'll discuss what it takes to write, publish, and market your kids' book. Let's get started. This episode is brought to you by BiblioKid Publishing, the children's book publisher that donates 50% of their profits back to education. For a look at their books or to learn more, visit bibliokidpublishing.com. Hey there, and welcome to the Journey to KidLit podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Van Sickle, and today we're talking all about query letters. So what the heck is a query anyways? It's your introduction, hey there, how are ya? I wrote a book you might like letter. And it's your first impression in order to work with an agent. Since it is the first impression you will have with an agent as a writer, it can make you feel like a giant amount of pressure to get it right. I myself have written tens and tens of query letters, some that were probably not so great, and others I think were pretty freaking fantastic. But it took writing all those not so great ones and an awesome critique group to get my query letters up to par. Now, you may be wondering, so how do you write a stellar query letter? What all goes in one? We'll go over exactly that. Plus, I'm going to share some tips I received from literary agent herself, Adria Goetz with Martin Literary, because who better to learn from than someone who has read query letters all day? All right. First, what makes up a query letter? Whenever you write a query, it should include an introduction to you and your story, your hook, followed by a brief summary, then a quick bio about you, what's included along with the query, and your sign-off. And you want to do this in 300 words or less, which may sound like not enough space, but when you think about a query letter as a quick email you'd write to a prospective coworker or teammate, it's plenty of room to get across what you'd like to say. So here's an example of what that would sound like. Hi, Adria. My name is BJ Novak, and today I'd like to share with you my picture book, the book with no pictures, in which everything written on the page has to be said by the person reading it out loud, even if words say blork or blurf. I wanted to send you this project because I know you like humorous picture books. The book with no pictures is complete at 350 words and will appeal to readers who enjoy Dragons Love Tacos by Adam Rubin, Penguin 2012, and Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus by Mo Willems, Hyperion 2003. I currently work in the television industry where I've enjoyed working in an office with some of my closest friends. The book with no pictures is my debut picture book, and it was inspired by a moment when I was making up words and realized I could put them together in a book. Per your submission guidelines, the complete picture book manuscript is pasted below this email. Thank you so much for your consideration, BJ Novak. Obviously, this is a completely fictitious letter, but you get a good feel for the book without having read the story. Now, when you write your own query, you'll want to think about what happens in the book. What's a good hook? How does it relate to today's kids? And how could it be used in a classroom? Those are all really important questions that you want to mull over, but you want to make sure that once you come up with your final answer, that it's short and sweet, as if you were writing a tweet. And if you're going to choose to use comp titles, which you should, you want to make sure to include the author's name, the publisher, and the year published. Plus, make sure they're the same genre and age group. And be sure to use successful books that prove that there's an interest in the market. However, just be careful not to overdo it. You don't want to say something like, my book's the next Harry Potter. That's a lot of pressure to put on you as the author and your book. Plus, let's be real, it's been over 20 years and we don't have another Harry Potter. Okay, I also asked literary agent Adria Goetz her most important tip to improve your query letter, and she gave me 2 suggestions. The first, use specific language. A lot of queries use really vague language to talk about their project, especially in the first paragraph. I see a lot of queries that open things up, like Mermaid Mystery is a picture book at 450 words about fear and having the courage to start again. That type of language feels fluffy to Adria and doesn't clue her into the plot about the book, which is what will hook an agent. It is so much more intriguing to instead read, Mermaid Mystery is a picture book at 450 words in which mermaid detective Sherlock Holmes comes out of retirement to investigate the mystery of the missing pearl. Do you see the difference? Okay, so the second thing she says to do is don't forget the basics. She knows there's a lot of conflicting information out there on how to begin a query, but personally, she likes to see the first paragraph include the title, age category, genre, word count, and a sentence-long description of the plot. It's more helpful to help her get that information up front to ground her in the project and give her a flavor for what to expect. Thank you so much, Adria, for sending us those tips. I've also had agents at conferences say their number one suggestion for query letters is to make sure to research the agent first. Agents like queries that are personalized to them and not canned versions. It lets them feel a connection to you and your story, and it helps you too. You don't want to spend time querying someone who isn't a good fit for you, so take your time to do your research before you submit. And always check the submission guidelines before you send to anyone. You don't want to get rejected because you made the mistake of attaching your story instead of pasting it into the email. So be sure to read before hitting send. And if you're ready to start querying, but wondering where you should look for a literary agent, there are a few places I would start. 1, if you're a member of SBWI, they have what's called The Book. It's located on their website, and it's free for all SBWI members. If you're not a member, however, you can also find a similar type book called Children's Book Marketplace, and that's available both as a hard copy or online. You could also do research through online places like Publishers Marketplace or Manuscript Wishlist to find literary agents that are looking for specific things that are related to your story. And you could subscribe to different places like the Children's Book Insider for monthly updates of people looking for submissions. All right, that about does it for today's episode of the Journey to KidLit podcast. Thank you so much to Adria Goetz for sharing her insights. If you'd like to learn more about Adria and get the links to everything we talked about to help your query, download the show notes at journeytokidlit.com under episode 8 in the podcast tab. Thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck with your queries. I hope you hear some good news this year. And as always, I love hearing from you. So if you have a thought about today's episode or a suggestion for future ones, send me an email or reach out to me via Twitter. And if you liked what you heard, be sure to leave a review. And while you're there, subscribe to be notified of new episodes. Until next time, happy writing!